Now, it's time to hear it from Harlan. Utah Athletics Director Mark Harlan brings you behind the scenes of college and Utah athletics.
As we head down the home stretch of the athletics year, we welcome you to the May edition of the Hear It From Harlan podcast, along with Mark Harlan. I'm Mike Lagashow. Coming up on the show, it's a busy time of the year. We'll wrap up the spring sports, and Mark will share with you his thoughts on some other developments with Utah athletics. Also, Dickman of the softball team will be Mark's guest for his one-on-one segment. Also, Mark will share his thoughts on some major topics discussed at the recent Pac-12 ADs meetings, and we'll also get to some of your questions for Mark. Well, Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike. Always great to see you and talk about what's going on in Utah athletics. And got a lot of questions that came in this week. Look forward to addressing some of those, but always great to see you.
Yep, some great stuff. Good to see you as well. Well, kind of interesting. This is sort of the end of the year for you. Your first year at Utah as we get the graduation that's behind us now. Also, the Crimson Carpet Awards banquet took place. So it's sort of the time of year we wrap things up. Just some thoughts from you on what you've experienced the last few weeks and sort of your first year on the job.
Well, it's been a terrific last couple of weeks, as you mentioned, highlighted in a profound way by the end of the year graduation ceremonies, which were fabulous. We had over 100 plus kids graduate, but we also had the Crimson Carpet Awards that you alluded to, which is really the one time, besides a little bit in our opening weekend when we get everyone together, but it's the one time where everyone can get really dressed up, all 20 plus teams, and celebrate each other. And it was incredible. Holly Rowe came out from ESPN, who's a grad of ours, and she did a great job emceeing the event. Great young people getting awards. It was a great night. Emotional too, with Lauren McCluskey's mom, Jill, here joining us. She received the most inspirational athlete award. Lauren did. So that was great to be able to celebrate with Jill that night. And it was just a terrific evening, and so proud of all our graduates and what they accomplished here. We have so many of them, though, that still have a year left in eligibility. Right. We're seeing that number rise. So many kids will be competing for us next year as grad students, which is, of course, just an awesome thing.
Sure is. Always fun for me. I walk in, I don't recognize half of them because they're dressed up and they're not, hair pulled back and they're not in their athletic attire, but just really a fun evening. And Holly, as you mentioned, just a great job. She's a proud graduate of Utah, and great to see her there that night, especially after what she dealt with the past couple of years with her battle with cancer. She's doing well, so great to have Holly there with us that night. Some good news as well, Mark, on the academic front. In addition to graduation, the APR came out for the latest cycle of 4 years on May 7th. 8 Utah teams have perfect single-year scores, also gymnastics and volleyball. Perfect multi-year scores of 1,000. Those two teams, along with football, were recognized for placing the top 10% of their sports in the country. Just some great news on the APR front.
Just a fantastic data set for us all to celebrate. It's a little complicated the way the APR is calculated, but at the end of the day, what I like to say is it just tracks kids' success toward graduation. That really what the data points are all about. So when you have 95% graduation rate, which is what we have right now in our athletics department, not surprised that these APR numbers are as high as they are. Now, that being said, to see gymnastics and volleyball have multi-year, which basically means every young person coming through here is eligible, good grades, and graduating is a fabulous thing. But, to have football too, have a perfect single year APR is really unique. And just, again, what a great job by Kyle. But, of course, all our coaches and our academic staff to make sure the thing is the thing, and that is to do great academically, graduate, and, oh, by the way, compete in the highest conference in the country. So I hope our donors and all the folks that support us really understand that this is what it's all about. They help us do this because providing the resources to get this great staff around them, allows us for this. So congratulations to all our young people with these incredible scores that, as you say, are up there with Stanford in the very best in the conference.
Well, Mark, you mentioned from day one when you came on board, we want to win in 3 areas: in the classroom, in competition, and in the community. And that APR number indicating we're doing a great job in the classroom as a department. All right, spring sports, as I mentioned, wrapping up. Mark, some highlights you want to pick out from the past month or so.
Well, we're in the championship season with our spring sports, and we've had some mixed success, quite candidly, as we turn the corner and end the year. Really proud of Dan Little from our tennis team, who became the first player to ever qualify in our singles championship. Dan graduated recently. Great young man. He's going to move back to England, try to continue his career. We also saw that in golf with Kyler Dunkel as an individual champion. to me, on those two sports, you're seeing the talent increase in a profound way. Obviously, these two young people got in. Now the rest of their teammates is where we need to be so we can get in as a team, and we'll work closely with those coaches. Track had a rough Pac-12 championships in terms of the weather. I don't know if you followed this, but brutal. It was in Tucson, and they were competing at 1 a.m, which is crazy. I lived there for 17 years, and usually the rain and lightning doesn't hit till August, but it decided to hit that weekend. But we had some really good individual performances from our women's team, and I appreciate all the effort. What a challenging year they had in so many ways, and proud of that group in a lot of different ways. Softball just struggled a little bit with injuries this year. Had some really great moments along the way. I thought taking 2 of 3 from Oregon in their last home series. Allie will be here in a moment, and we can talk about that. Baseball just is kind of struggling here down the stretch. I look forward tonight as we tape this. We'll play BYU at home. Again, so many injuries with that team combined with just not being able to get them outdoors enough. So we'll continue to work and help them. That's one of those where I just have to really work hard with my staff to make sure we're providing those guys what they need. But a lot of great individual performances along the way, and we'll continue to work with all of them to get them in the postseason next year.
All right, Mark, some other news. 5 youths drafted. Great news on that front with Marquise Blair, Cody Barton, Mitch Wisnowski, Matt Gay, and also Jackson Barton, all taken in the draft in late April.
Well, Seattle, right? Let's go get our season tickets up there. It's fun. I noticed that the same weekend we play the Huskies up there in November. The Seahawks play on Sunday, so maybe some of our fans will stay over and support these guys. But dreams come true for those guys in so many ways. We know we have some other guys that are fighting to get into camp, and I think some of them will make it. But just another point of evidence that our football program is on the rise when you get those kind of folks drafted with those kind of numbers. So really proud of all of them.
Yes, absolutely. And also in gymnastics, Megan Marsden, after 35 years with the coaching staff stepping down at the end of the season, and Michaela Skinner announcing she's going to make a run at the Olympics in 2020. Might come back for her senior year. She's going to gauge it this summer, but a couple of big news items with gymnastics.
Really unbelievable. Megan and I had chatted about where her mindset was, when she came in and told me that she was ready and walked through kind of the whole thing about she was going to stay 3 to 5 years after Greg retired, and sure enough, we're right here at 4.
Yep.
I tried certain techniques to have her reconsider because I just love being around her, and she's such a legend in this business. But I'm so happy for her that she and Greg can spend time together, and especially with their new grandson on the way. So wish her the best, but she'll stay close. She'll be an ambassador. She'll help Scott Cole, myself, and Kyle Brennan with a lot of different projects, including the renovation of the Dumpkey that we want to get done over the next few years. Michaela will be great. She's going to go for it. She's going to chase her dreams. I don't know if you saw that we're going to go ahead and host a major USA meet here, and she'll be able to compete here if all things go right and she's healthy. So that'll be really neat for us, and we'll have more news on that so folks can come out and support her. But, gymnastics and Megan not being here, it's hard to kind of even say out loud, but proud of Tom and his ability to move forward the program. He's hired a great few new members to his staff, and so we'll continue to expect great things out of that program.
Yeah, we'll be different, but Tom is a great guy doing a great job and still carry on that tradition. One thing I want to work in, Mark, before we get to our guest, Allie Dickman, a new one-pass option for fans to get admission to volleyball, soccer, women's hoops, baseball, lacrosse, and softball. Also admission to some non-conference men's basketball games, a couple of gymnastics meets. $100 is all it costs for adults, $25 for youth. That's 12 and under. Just a great new program. And really, it will help simplify admission for fans to our great events, and should be a fun thing we initiate over the course of the summer and the fall.
Well, I appreciate our marketing staff and our ticketing staff for being creative and innovative in a way to help our fans. We want to make it as easy as we possibly can be for folks to come and support these great teams, and I think this is one way to do it. My expectations is we're always looking at the best way to do things, and so I'm proud of the group for rolling this out this week. People can go to our website and look at the one pass option. We're looking at doing some things too in basketball. We know we had a really late men's basketball schedule this year, so perhaps it's time to change to a card rather than a ticket. But we're looking into those things, and we'll let everyone know. But I think this is a really neat thing to do. Just don't be like me and lose it, right? Because that's the one problem. If you have one and you lose it, right? So my wife would say, this is not good for you, but probably good for other people. But get on our website and take a look.
You might be able to talk your way in, by the way. I'm not worried about you. So
there's the one guy that I have issues with, but he and I are buddies now, so we're all good.
All right, sounds good. All right, when we come back, we'll check in with Allie Dickman of the softball team. That's when we continue with the Here From Harlan podcast in just a moment.
Now, it's time for Utah's head man to catch up with one of our star student athletes. Once again, here's Ute Athletics Director Mark Harlan on the Hear It From Harlan podcast.
One of my favorite parts, no, it's not one of, it is the best part of doing the podcast is having a chance to talk with one of our great student athletes. And today we absolutely have a very, very special student athlete in Allie Dickman, our fabulous captain of the softball team, senior extraordinaire who just graduated, which is just amazing. Allie, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's been fun to watch you all year and everything you've done on the softball field, and we're going to get into that. But where I really want to start is really how we first met, which was in the summer when I asked the Crimson Council to come and sit with me and have lunch, and that's where we met. And you led that group as the co-president this entire year. And first of all, I want to thank you publicly for everything you did with that group. It's a group that's so important to me. But why don't you talk to everybody about that group and why it was so important to you to lead that group in your final year here?
Well, starting my freshman year, I got involved with SAC mostly just to meet people and be plugged into the community. But as I got older, I really watched it grow, and people like Maddie Stover and Jessica Sams really built it into what it is today. And I feel like going into my senior year, I just wanted to make sure that we could carry it on and be plugged into our community, put on great events for our student athletes, and it really became something really special, something I'm really proud of. So.
Well, you should be proud of it. And so what we really have here at University of Utah is special. We have 2 or 3 young people from each team. It doesn't mean they're the best player. It doesn't mean that they're captain. It's just 2 to 3 folks that we know can really listen and learn, take stuff back to their teammates, and also help create incredible events. Mm-hmm. We were talking earlier in the podcast about the Crimson Carpet Awards, which is something that you guys run every year. It was my first time there. It was remarkable to see so many people honored. What was your take of that event that night?
I mean, first of all, that day is just insane. That morning we had weights, then we had full practice, then we had to run over to the Marriott and get set up for the event. So the day was exhausting. So by the time the event was on, I was just like so happy to enjoy it because I was like, this day is insane. But the event is incredible. And we actually started out doing it my freshman year, and just to have watched it grow and become something that people look forward to and not just something they feel like they have to go to is probably the best part. Like hearing people be excited about it is so fun for me.
I know that when I was told it was almost 500 student athletes at RSVP, when you're talking about a group of 551, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And boy, everyone was dressed up and looked great. And I thought you guys just did a really remarkable job in really celebrating everybody. You know, it wasn't the football team. It was everybody. And I thought that was really good. I thought the student athletes, you're voting for Lauren is most inspirational. Having your mom there was something I think I'll always remember. And just wondering what your take of that moment was.
I mean, it was so emotional and so wonderful. Obviously, we were plugged in on it because we were planning the event. Sure. So we were expecting it, but I think it was a really special moment for the track team and for Lauren's mom and for our whole department to be able to recognize her. And I love what they said about her. Like, it's easy to say in retrospect, like to vote for her in retrospect, but she would have been up for that award anyways because she was an incredible student athlete and an incredible person on our campus. Yeah,
that's really well said. Her mom was so pleased to fly in and see her recognized in that way. It was I can tell you, Jill was so pleased. So that's, again, tribute to you and the team's leadership for that. And again, this group also handles issues that we need to work together on. And what I've been particularly impressed with the group is how they've really helped me and Nona and others really get after mental health here and awareness of that. And, really appreciate your efforts for that. I think the group really was the one. We added an additional psychologist mid-year this year, which really came from input from the students. I felt like we needed a female psychologist here, and she's off and running. She's terrific. But just a little comment from you on how we're doing in that regard.
Yeah, totally. So Crimson Council as a whole wanted it to be an initiative for this year. And so we got plugged in with the Damn Worth It campaign, which was started up at Oregon State, and kind of just watching the lead that they've taken, sharing their stories and pushing mental health awareness and breaking the stigma. And then our athletic department has done a great job providing resources, and it's just so important because our lives are so busy. We have so much going on, and it's just so nice to know that if we're dealing with something, we have the resources that we need. So, yeah, it's been really important for my personal journey, and I know so many other student athletes. It's really important for them as well.
Well, again, this group has been terrific. I hope people can tell just by our conversation that it is the priority for this athletic department to listen to our students, to make sure that we're doing the right thing. Now, I do apologize to you publicly. You asked me to look in TSA pre-screening for all our student athletes, and I'm still looking into that. I ask questions all the time. If you see our teams going through pre-screen in the next couple of years and you're traveling through the airport and you're stuck in the long line, just remember it was you.
Yes,
that got
I did that
done.
for them.
We'll work on that.
I'll make sure everyone coming in knows that that was me.
That was great. Just to close the book on some of the mental health thing, that is going to continue to be a priority for us. And we have Giving Day coming up. We're going to really challenge our folks to really help us and support in that. And so as we look at a campus-wide fundraising campaign that'll be on May 21st, 22nd, look for that. We're going to really ask people to help support that as a key priority for us. So more to come on that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about you. You have a junior year here, and you're battling. It's one of those things. It's tough to be a softball player. It's, I still don't know how you guys hit the ball. That's a whole nother story. But you're still doing your thing. You don't let it affect you in the field. But you made a decision or something happened because you came into your senior year and you just exploded. I mean, well over 300 is an average, which I know is a goal at senior day. I heard that. Yeah. What do you attribute this fantastic year that you had to go out this way in the Pac-12?
I really think it started for me at the end of last year, which if you were just looking at pure numbers, that wouldn't really make sense to you because I didn't have a great junior year. But about midway through my junior year, I just decided that I'm done playing the numbers game. I'm done stressing out about the outcome all the time. And I'm like, this is my experience, and I have the choice to say that I'm going to have fun no matter what. And I'm going to enjoy my teammates, and I'm going to take every opportunity I'm given. And that's all I can worry about is doing my best with the opportunities I'm given. Not worry about playing time, not worry about the outcomes or the numbers. And I really carried that. I did have like a little spike at the end of my junior year, and I really think that's why, and I just carried it into this year. I knew I would be competing for a spot, but I just told myself, like, all I can do is take the opportunities I'm given and do my best and not focus on anything else, and I really think that helped kind of tuning out the outside noise, stuff that I can't control.
I hope any young people that are in sports just heard that answer. I think that's an incredible way to describe how the mental game, it's the physical game. What you didn't say is, I spent 15 more hours in the gym, or you got your mind right. It started at the end of that junior year that launched you in, because that's right. I mean, softball and baseball are so data-driven and analytical, and just, if you can just put that on the side and just play a game that you love. Well, you had a remarkable year, and, obviously that last home series versus Oregon was pretty special. How many RBIs did you have on your last game here?
Was it 4?
I guess we're not supposed to talk about data. We just covered that. But I kept watching you hit and get more hits, and you had that triple that turned into a home run that just, broke open the game. We had never beaten Oregon in a series since we've entered the Pac-12. Is that correct? So what a fabulous way to end the home season for you. The team, obviously we didn't make the tournament this year. We had certainly some key injuries and some things that you and you, the team, and coach had to battle. How do you feel the softball team is as you leave the program?
I mean, we talked about it a lot this year. Coming off of last year, we wanted to do some things differently. Even if, I told them especially, I want to walk out of here knowing that we don't want to have that feeling that we had at the end of last year where we just kind of gave up. And I really feel like we're going in the positive direction because we ended this year knowing that we never stopped fighting. And I really think that this team has that scrap and that edge, and they're going to keep fighting until they make it to the postseason. And I really think that they have a good chance next year, because even if our preseason really hurt us this year, but our Pac-12 numbers were decent.
Exactly.
And if they can do that next year and have a good preseason and then have decent Pac-12 numbers, they have a chance.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited to see how that goes next year because I know that they have a chance. I know they're going to keep fighting for it.
I'm glad you pointed out the Pac-12 season, because I was looking at that the other day. I mean, I still don't know how you guys just, it's snowing, and then you got to go out to Tampa or Phoenix or whatever and compete with teams that have been outdoors for months. And then once you guys got your legs under you guys, I thought really had a great way. But now for you, we were talking before you came in, you were actually able to go through ceremonies last Friday because the softball team was in town, which is not always the case. So what's next for you? And are you looking forward to whatever that might be?
Yeah, so I'm actually moving back home to Southern California, so I'm excited.
You're leaving.
Yes, I'm leaving Salt Lake, but I'm excited to be back in the warm weather year-round. I love the warm weather. Love the snow too, but not as much.
So you're going to move back home?
Yeah, moving back home. Basically just looking for work. I really want to work in nonprofits and fundraising and event planning,
So I think you'd be great at that. So anyone that's listening that is in nonprofit leadership, we have a great one for you. So softball's over.
Yes.
But
I am playing in my first slow pitch game tonight. So
you're playing in slow pitch?
Yes.
Is that fair for you to be in a slow pitch? They allow you to play in that?
So. Well, I might. I don't know. I've never hit a slow pitch, so we'll see how it goes.
I have a feeling I know how it's going to go, and the ball's going to go over the fence. Let me ask you a question about that, because this comes up a lot. I get asked this. So you're playing softball. When did you start playing softball?
When I was 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 5, competitive. We can get into all the craziness you go to before you get to college to get the college scholarship. That's for another conversation. Now it's over. Are you ready for that change?
I mean, I'm lucky because I got to watch my sister go through it, and my sister was an incredible athlete, had 4 amazing years. And so I kind of got to learn from her how to go through the transition. And so I feel like I'm more prepared than the average student athlete. But, I mean, I keep saying I don't know how I'll feel in August when everyone comes back and I'm still in Southern California not getting ready to come back.
Right.
So.
That's when it'll hit you. Well, in that regard, remember, we're here for you. You can always come out and come to any football, come by and visit me, visit everybody else. You left a profound record here. The field is one thing, but what you did off the field, the stuff that you guys did in the mental health work, the focus you got the administration on, it will be felt forever. So thank you so much for everything.
Thank you.
Visit us a lot. What do we play? USC in football in September? So you got to come up, and
I will for sure.
We'll see you in September. But thanks for everything.
Thank you.
And welcome back to the Here From Harlan Podcast, along with Utah Director of Athletics, Mark Harlan. I'm Mike Lageschilt. Well, Mark, it's been a busy spring for you. The Pac-12 meetings took place in May. That's a chance to get all the football coaches, ADs together for some long sessions. Any developments that came out of that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think there was a few things that were of note. Some were publicly released, and others I can chat through a little bit. I think on the basketball front, the big headline was the vote to go ahead and move to a 20-game league schedule starting in the 2021 season. That had been debated for some time. We had a chance to relook at all the data, particularly from the Big Ten, who moved to this model recently. So we voted to go ahead and do that. So that'll take 11 non-conference games down to 9. And we will, part of the rule is that those additional 2 conference games will be basically at the campus where the students are in session. So we'll see that in late November, early December if you happen to have the home games in that particular year. And that's a good thing. I think it's important to have some real meaningful games, league games, before the end of the semester. Obviously, this is all an attempt to put ourselves in the best position to have as many teams in the NCAA tournament going forward. The other thing is we're going to hold ourselves more accountable to scheduling teams that really help if you win.
Right.
It's a balance. You got to win 75% of your non-conference games if you really want to have a chance in the tournament. And then obviously you have to do well in the league season too. But if you don't win 75%, the data screams now. You really are going to have a hard time getting in the tournament if you don't win your conference. So we want to make sure we stay in RPI teams that are, 175 or below, and we want to make sure that we all work together and then hold each other accountable to that. So I think in basketball, that was the big news. On football front, we got updated on the officiating. review that we're undergoing with Simpson, which is a firm out of New York that helped the NFL in 2010 and 11. That's involved interviews with football coaches and athletic directors to talk about their perceptions of things that can be improved, everything from on-field officiating, how they're managed, how the coaches and ADs interact, to also, of course, instant replay. Real pleased. It's a real in-depth review, and I think we'll get better. Everyone's been very open to it, including our on-field officials, so I think it's just a chance for us to get better in that regard. The last thing is obviously what has been public as well, but really an update is just we're continuing to look at the viability and does it make sense to bring in a financial investment partner to help us bridge the gap between now and 2024 when our television deal expires to help with revenue. Would it be a meaningful partner that would then help us beyond 24 in our financial outlay with the television network? So we got updated on that. We're continuing to study it. We understand that whatever we do has to be in the best interest, not for this 4-year period, but for the future of the league.
Right.
And then lastly, I think it was 3.5 plus days, so it was pretty intense, and just really reminding everybody that we have to work together. We have to hold each other accountable, conference staff, ADs, coaches, to really make sure that we move forward in this great conference in all regards. We have to get better in men's basketball. We have to get better in football. We know that really is the headline, as we say. We know we're doing great in the other sports. I think 13 or 14 new national championships came into the league. So I felt really good leaving there. I really feel like we're making some good decisions. We're working closely together, and I look forward to a much improved conference next year.
Just fun to see the reaction of fans to the 9-game football schedule. You and I talked about that last time we did this, and now 20 games in conference for basketball. The fans love to see Pac-12 games. They love to see good competition, and who better to play than teams in your own league?
Well, I think that's a really good point. I mean, I think now if you also take those 9 and you don't follow those scheduling matrix, then you're kind of where you were. But I like the fact if you look at our schedule, we'll have Kentucky as part of that 9. Well, we would this year. Kentucky obviously will come off our schedule for 20. Nevada, we're seeing Larry and I working together to improve our schedule. But again, you also can't overdo it because you got to win 75%. So there's always that balance. But I think this is a really good thing.
All right, let's get to some fan questions that came in via Twitter, and a great response. Thanks to everyone who submitted questions. We can't get to them all in our time here, but let's get to a couple, Mark. The first one talking about football scheduling and how do you work in the rivalry with BYU as part of that process?
Well, non-conference football scheduling obviously is something that everyone's really interested in, and it always has our attention. We are now really looking far out. We have been looking far out. A lot of our schedule is already locked in for the next 7 or so years, but we're also talking to a lot of schools and also a company, quite candidly, that helps match schools with databases. And I think I'm excited about the response we're getting for different games. It's very interesting to hear the objections of why maybe people are a little worried about coming into Salt Lake. And I think it's a tribute to our fans, and it's a tribute to our team. It's just hard to win here. And so you really have to really work it. In a lot of different, and based on relationships to different schools. But we're looking at a lot of different options. We're talking to some P5 schools right now. Certainly, if we get anything done, we'll announce it. As far as BYU goes, I've said publicly before, that's a rival for us. It's a very important game for us, and on most years, we're going to play BYU. But if it makes sense, where we, kind of like what we've seen before in the Michigan model here, where Tom Homo, their AD, and I speak, and we work together in advance, there's certainly opportunities if both of us agree to it, that we might take a year or two off. But that would be working together on it. But there's certainly some great opportunities for us, and we'll continue to work hard on it. But again, it's about what's best for the Utes and making sure that we don't overdo it, but we also know that we want to provide the best possible opponents for our fans too, and finding that balance.
One more question on football. This one asking, what creative ideas do you have, as well as your staff, to improve the football game day experience for fans and generate more money?
Well, fans would say bring in opponents, right?
There you go.
Going back to
it comes right back to it.
No, I mean, we did some things last year. I think our fans really noticed with different interactions with the video board, miking the band, being very strategic in when we utilize what we call explosive moments rather than going straight off a script. We started working that in last year, so we're going to refine and improve upon that. We love our new toy, that video board. It's still new and fun, and we need to maximize it, work with the band and all of those things. So I would say look for more. We're also focusing in on the tailgate areas and making sure that they're as fun and as accessible as they possibly can be. But the external staff has been working really, really hard to make sure that everyone that comes to games this coming fall will have a great time. Let me also pause here and thank our fans. We're at 97% renewal as we tape this today. Those other 3%, we're just tracking them down. They might be the ones that don't quite have the mobile phones yet, but we'll get them.
Yep.
And also, we certainly have that waiting list that we'll put people in as we can. So I want to thank everybody for stepping up once again for the Utes.
Yep, tremendous support and great expectations for the upcoming football season. Should be an exciting fall coming up for us. A question on our facilities here, Mark. As you drive around campus, you maybe see some dirt being moved around over by the softball complex. This one asking about the new lacrosse soccer stadium. What's the timetable, they ask, and will it be ready for competition for soccer this fall?
Well, they tell me it will be. They've been challenged. We had a rough winter, and so we had about a 30-day delay that came out of that whole rain and snow. But they're great. Oakland's a great firm, and they're out there doing their thing. And we anticipate being able to open up our women's soccer season on August 30th as scheduled. It'll be a great field for both the soccer team and the lacrosse team, and we're looking forward to opening that this summer.
All right, Mark. Fun as always to catch up with you. We'll check in sometime this summer, I'm sure. If not, hit them straight, and we'll see you down the road.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right, that will do it for this edition of the It From Harlan Podcast. For Mark Harlan, I'm Mike Leishel. Thanks for joining us. So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the It From Harlan Podcast. Subscribe and listen all year long as we keep you up to date on the latest information around the Utah Utes and Athletics Director Mark Harlan.